This is Joe Biden, the President of the United States. Since his disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump, calls from many Democrats, big money donors, and editorial boards from major newspapers have been calling for Biden to not only ditch his re-election bid, but to resign from office, like now. But in defiance, Biden held a campaign rally in Madison, Wisconsin, and said that he wasn't going anywhere.
Now you probably heard we had a little debate last week. Can't say it was my best performance. But ever since then, there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
Good luck with that, Joe. Anyway, after the rally, Joe Biden gave an exclusive sit-down interview with George Stephanopoulos of ABC News. The White House and the Biden campaign thought that this could be a reset of sorts. But spoiler alert, they thought wrong.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night. But did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Joe Biden isn't sure if he watched his own debate. Don't worry, guys, he's fine. And basically, that set the tone for the entire interview. Watch Biden's dubious explanation as to why he did so poorly during the debate.
Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible.
I'm not sure that anyone actually believes that Joe Biden's performance was due to him being sick. Let's take a moment and watch Biden and his doctor wife's appearance at a watch party in Atlanta.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
How embarrassing. This is how a parent speaks to a toddler. You did such a good job. Yes, you did. Also, he knew all the facts? What debate was she watching?
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
And then there was the moment when Dr. First Lady decided to channel Howard Dean.
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
Just remember, folks, this November, normalcy is on the ballot. And since Dr. First Lady mentioned lying, well, I think you know what happens next.
Look, folks, you know, I shouldn't say this, but my brother always uses lines from movies. There was a famous movie about John Wayne, and he's working for the Northern military, trying to get the Apaches back in the reservation. And they were lying like hell to him. And they're all sitting on a bluff. And John Wayne was sitting with two Apaches. And one of them looked at John Wayne and said, "These guys are nothing but lying, dog-faced pony soldiers."
Joe Biden is remembering a famous movie by John Wayne that does not exist. Last year, John Gizzi, the White House correspondent from Newsmax, reached out to the John Wayne Museum in Winterset, Iowa. The executive director, Brian Downs, told Newsmax, "John Wayne never said that, and you can quote me. I will give $1,000 to anyone who can tell us when or in what movie John Wayne said that." Okay, I went off the track a little bit, but there was a point. Listen to Nora O'Donnell from CBS News before Biden's watch party appearance.
Sources close to the president say he's had a cold for the past couple of days. He was tested for COVID by his doctor, does not have it. Questions tonight about why he didn't take some cold medicine or something.
I mean, maybe he did take some cold medicine. I mean, that would explain Biden's drowsy performance. But then, following Biden's appearance at the watch party, Nora O'Donnell made an observation.
Well, there you have it. The President of the United States, it appears his cold has been cured. Once in front of an audience, he's able to project, and you can hear him a little better. I mean, it's a remarkable transformation.
Yeah, they aren't buying it. And I need to point out that Joe Biden, who for the better part of 2 years couldn't shut up about wearing a mask during the pandemic, now he has no qualms about going down to the local Waffle House to spread around his cold.
Suffering from a cold, your campaign says that you're sick.
And then, hours later, he did the same thing on the tarmac at Raleigh-Durham International Airport when meeting supporters. So much for that patriotism, I guess. So Biden was exhausted and had a cold, which is where Biden's excuses should have ended. But instead, whining Biden gave several additional excuses.
What were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail.
So he prepared wrong or something? No one knows what the hell he's talking about.
And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is.
So he had a bad night because of a poll that came out before the debate. And Joe Biden, who is never right, got the number wrong. In the New York Times Siena poll, released 1 day before the debate, Biden was 6 points behind with registered voters and only 4 points behind with likely voters.
The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault. No one else's fault.
So Joe Biden couldn't handle Donald Trump's lies. The orange man was too strong.
Well, Kanye was having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
And that is a provable lie. Trump and Biden were on split screen for about 90% of the debate, and there is zero evidence that Trump was shouting over Biden. Now, if you follow me on X, and why wouldn't you at this point, you'll have seen that I quote tweeted the following from Ryan Witziger, aka The Pizza, who wrote the following. If our president breaks down because someone else is shouting at them, that's a good enough reason for them not to be the president of the most powerful country in the world, full stop. I couldn't have said it better myself. And think about it. Instead of Joe Biden taking responsibility for his abysmal showing at the debate, he blames it on anything and everything else. Oh, I had a cold. Oh, I was tired from traveling. I was overprepared. Trump was shouting over me and he lied over and over again and I was distracted and couldn't keep up. The New York Times put out a poll that I didn't like. And he dares to call Donald Trump a whiner.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Now watch Biden get defensive and not so subtly try and throw it back in George Stephanopoulos' face.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
Wow, what a prick. So Biden tried to write off his poor debate showing by bragging about his highly scripted campaign appearances as if that's some sort of amazing accomplishment.
I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping.
But we know that's a lie because Joe Biden can't get through a single speech without screwing it up. Here's Biden just minutes earlier at the rally in Wisconsin.
I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020.
And you're gonna love this. It turns out that during a couple of radio interviews that Joe Biden gave 2 days prior, Biden knew what he was going to be asked. Here's CNN's Victor Blackwell.
Were those questions given to you by the White House, or did you have, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved of them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Thinking that it's okay to approve prepared questions ahead of time shows a complete lack of journalistic integrity and incredibly bad judgment, which is why she was forced to resign from her radio station. And despite the fact that it was a scripted interview, Joe Biden managed to screw it up anyway.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman, served with a black president.
Bet you didn't see that one coming. Racial and gender identity is so fluid that Joe Biden is now a black woman. Next is one of the most frustrating and ridiculous exchanges from the interview. It's when Joe Biden was asked about taking a cognitive test.
Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes.
Actually, no. Joe Biden has famously not undergone a full neurological and cognitive evaluation.
When asked in June if you'd been tested for cognitive decline, you've responded that you're constantly tested in effect because you're in situations like this on the campaign trail. But please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man.
If you look at what this president, the president who is also the commander-in-chief, he passes a cognitive test every day. Every day.
You say there's no problem, he'd pass the test every day. Why not just have his doctor administer the test and then case closed?
Because the doctor doesn't believe that he needs one, because including the neurologist doesn't believe he needs one. Look, I think folks need to understand that the president passes, again, a cognitive test every day.
In other words, a neurologist looked at Joe Biden, who once nearly died because of a brain aneurysm, and was like, he's fine. Nothing to see here. You can just tell. Makes sense to me.
Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day.
Would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So the answer,
make a decision.
The right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right now.
No, I've already done it.
I take a test every day. I don't need a test. Look, he can't take a cognitive exam and release the results because I'm assuming that he and his doctors know that those results would immediately end his campaign. But by not submitting to one, the American people are rightfully allowed to assume the worst.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up.
No, it's not. In the 11 polls conducted post-debate, Donald Trump is up by an average of more than 3 points.
New York Times had me behind before anything having to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
So 2 things. A, Biden has not pulled behind Trump by 10 points in any New York Times survey in the last 3 years. And B, Joe Biden is in denial because after the debate, the New York Times found that Trump is up 6 points with likely voters and 9 points with registered voters. A 3-point change in a week is in fact substantial, Joe.
When you look at the reality though, Mr. President, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the Electoral College.
By 7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
Denial isn't just a river in Egypt, folks. But the most revealing part of the interview was when Biden was asked what happens if he doesn't win in November.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
The goodest job. Don't worry, folks. He's got another 4 years in him. But the bigger takeaway is this. Joe Biden's entire pitch has been that you have to vote for Biden-Harris because Trump will be a dictator on day one and call for a bloodbath. He'll sign a national abortion ban. He'll end Social Security and Medicare. None of which are true, of course. And yet, when he's asked about how he will feel if he loses to Trump and all the thing that Biden's been worried about happens, Biden's answer is, well, as long as I gave it my all. Translation? This whole Trump is a threat to democracy narrative is a complete lie. And it always has been. Anyway, that's it for now. Again, make sure that you're following me on X at Don't Walk Run, and be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.